77-year-old National Security Officer of India, Ajit Doval, is often called the James Bond of India. This true patriot has spent 40 years of his life in oblivion for the sake of the country's defense. Doval is 1968 batch retired Indian Police Service officer. He joined the service in the Kerala cadre as the Kottayam ASP. He had an impressive career in the Intelligence Bureau, where he served as the director of the IB from 2004 to 2005. Amid protests against the Agnipath defense recruitment scheme, Ajit Doval came out with government's clear vision on the scheme the other day and said that there was no question of a rollback. India has among the youngest populations in the world, yet it cannot continue to have an army with a high average age, he told ANI in an exclusive interview. He said that the new system will ensure a more tech-savvy army. NSA Doval is the latest among those assigned by the government of India to defend the scheme for recruiting Agniveers soldiers on 4-year contracts without pension. Only up to 25% of these recruits may be given regular commission of 15 years thereafter. This scheme, announced on June 14th, had triggered violent protests across India. Speaking about the future of Agniveers, say after 4 years, he asserted that the age of settling down is around 25 to 26 now. People are speaking of 1 life, 2 careers, even 3 careers now. When recruits from the first batch of Agniveers retire, India will be $5 trillion economy. Industry will need people who have age on their side. These men and women will still be young and won't have family compulsions. Denying any possibility of a rollback, as was done for 3 laws after the farmers' protest last year, Mr. Doval said, it is not a knee-jerk action. The scheme has been debated and discussed for decades. Only a leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi could say that he would even pay a political price, if need be, for a step in the national interest. Doval recalled that in 2006, when a Congress-led alliance was in power, the Defence Ministry wrote to the Home Ministry saying that it was thinking of implementing this thing. So, will the Central Armed Forces be able to take some in reserves? The Home Ministry formed a committee under the Director General of the Border Security Force, but its report never came out, the NSA claimed. On concerns that the regimental system will be affected, he said, regimental system was a colonial legacy to divide the people of India, but the Agnipath scheme will not tinker with it. Artillery, armored corps and other such will remain. The British did not want anything pan-India, but wanted people to represent community or region. The NSA rubbished fears that retired Agniveers could be used for vested interests or become mercenaries for hire. He asserted that these men and women will have such training and commitment towards society that they will in fact be a force for internal security. Not only will the armed forces have well-trained soldiers, but civil society too will have thousands as catalysts of change with a national perspective. Announced by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in the presence of the 3 service chiefs, the scheme provides for recruitment of men and women in the age bracket of 17.5 to 21 years. The centre later extended the upper age limit to 23 years for recruitment this year, as there has been no recruitment for the past 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic. NSA Doval argued, we are going towards contactless wars. Technology is taking over. If we have to prepare for tomorrow, then we cannot do things like we did in the past. He also reacted to recent statements that Agniveers will be good plumbers and guards after 4 years. We are talking about 22 to 23-year-olds with army service. Compare them with anyone else their age. These Agniveers will have discipline, skills and will be highly trainable. No avenue is debarred for them. They will have rupees 11 lakh with which they can even study further. He cited reservations in other government services, including police forces, announced so far. The NSA said it was injustice when the soldier was earlier released only after 15 years. At that time, the soldier could go back to the village and live on pension. Now the scenario has changed. I will say there are two kinds of opposition. There are one group of people who are truly concerned, who have served the country. They only have the fear of the unknown. But there is another group. They do not care for the country or the security of the nation. They are conflict entrepreneurs. They want a conflict in society. These are the people who will go for stone throwing, demonstrations, burning trains. They are with a vested interest. Whenever they have an opportunity, they think they can mislead the people, he added. He said the youth who are serious about joining the armed forces do not get misguided. A true Agniveer will not be influenced or misguided. They will prepare rather than do protests. The people who are doing all this, I do not think they are willing to join the armed forces or have a psychic mental set, he said. He said raising voice is justified, but vandalism will not be tolerated. I think protest raising voice is justified in a democracy. Violence and vandalism will not be tolerated. Reforms are required in various forms such as police. Lessons should be learned from the circumstances. Many FIRs have been lodged. People behind these will be identified, Mr. Doval said when asked about any political connection to the violent protests. Mr. Doval further said that Agniveers will never constitute the whole army. Agniveers will never constitute the whole army. Those Agniveers who become regulars eventually will undergo intensive training, acquire experience over a period of time, Mr. Doval said. He said Agnipath is not a standalone scheme and said that it was the central government's priority to make India secure and strong. He said he had a message for the youth that they should be positive, have faith in the nation, have faith in the leadership and also in yourself. Every youth of this country who has got the desire and motivation and feels a sense of commitment to defend the country gets an opportunity. His energy and talent are used to make this country strong, Mr. Doval added.